Hello and welcome back to Film Crazes. Today we're going to be talking about the traditional French fairy tale that's recently been turned into an extremely popular movie. Bluebeard, or Barbe Bleu as it's known in France, was first written by Charles Perrault, who was born on the 12th of January 1628. 71 years later, in 1697, he published the tale. Since then, there have been two Bluebeard movies, one in 1972 and one in 2009, but neither of them have been anywhere near as successful as the brand new film. The Wives of Bluebeard is sweeping the world by storm. It's now been shown in over 150 different countries and has been labelled as the most popular movie in decades. For those of you who don't know, Bluebeard is a tale of a wealthy yet tremendously ugly man who's had many wives, each of which have mysteriously disappeared. He decides he wants to marry one of his neighbour's daughters, so he holds a feast in honour of the girls. Eventually, he marries the youngest daughter and she moves into his desolate palace, far from her family. Almost immediately afterwards, Bluebeard leaves the business and gives his wife a bunch of keys leading to every room in the house. However, she's forbidden from entering a chamber in the basement. The wife decides that she's going to invite her siblings, friends and cousins over for a party. But halfway through, the curiosity takes over her, so she leaves to go and find out what's in the room. To her horror, the room is full of blood and the murdered corpses of Bluebeard's wives, hanging off hooks on the wall. In her surprise, she drops the key onto the bloody floor. When she picks it up and tries to wash off the blood, she realises that the key is magical and the blood will not come off. So, as you can imagine, when Bluebeard returns and sees the blood on the key, he is not happy and instantly threatens to kill his new wife. Just as he's about to beat her to death, her sister and brother rush in to save her. In short, they live happily ever after. They've got lots of money, the palace, Bluebeard is gone, and his wife remarries her man that she loves. That's that. A traditional fairy tale happily ever after. But maybe not so much. Later on, we'll hear from actress Georgia Hagger, who played the wife's sister Anne in the movie. But first, let's see the trailer.
Bluebeard is looking for a new wife.
He's so ugly with his blue beard. At least he's got lots of money, and he can be funny sometimes. I guess he's not so bad.
If I have to go away on business, here are the keys to the house. Use them to get what you need. This key, that's the key for the locked basement. Promise me you won't go in there.
I promise.
Judith!
As you can see, the story mainly features the three characters of the wealthy yet ugly Bluebeard, Bluebeard's beautiful and unsuspecting wife, and her kind and supportive sister Anne, as well as the minor parts of the loving father and the brave brothers. Here with me today is Georgia Hagger, who played Anne in the movie. Hello Georgia, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. We're very excited to have you here today.
I'm excited to be here.
So, before you started working on the movie, had you heard the story of Bluebeard before?
No, never. I think that because it originated in France, it's better known over there. Most of our fairy tales feature princesses getting rescued by princes with a happy ever after, but although Bluebeard has a happy ending, it's very different.
Yeah, definitely. I must admit that when I first heard the story, I thought that it was interesting because it's much gorier than most traditional tales. I'd never heard of it or seen it before, and I was shocked with the unusual amount of murder and blood and death for a story for young children. Personally, I think that it could be turned into a young adult story if, there was an extended storyline and obviously a bit of editing as well. But I think that it might scare young children, but it's certainly quite appealing to me.
I think that most people have the same response as you to the story. Of course, Charles Perrault wrote lots of other fairy tales that we are told as children in England, like Little Red Riding Hood, Cinderella, Puss in Boots and Sleeping Beauty. But the tales in England are also partially based off the Brothers Grimm.
Yeah, I think it's strange that he wrote fairy tales because, he was born into a wealthy Parisian family and he went on to study law. He was the seventh child of Pierre Perrault and Paquette Leclerc, and his parents almost definitely had high expectations of him, and I'm quite surprised that he didn't go into a job within the world of law.
Me too. I think it's very strange how popular French fairy tales have become in England. Until recently, I didn't know that stories like Cinderella had even originated in France.
Yeah. Which English tale do you think is most like Bluebeard?
I'm not sure. Like we said earlier, I think that French fairy tales and English fairy tales are very different.
Yeah, definitely. In a way, I think that The Three Little Pigs is similar because, the first two pigs were eaten by the wolf and, it was quite gory for that. And both stories have been successful in the countries that they were written in. And I think that, like most fairy tales, they both have morals and stuff like that to teach children with. But which of the two stories, so Three Little Pigs or Bluebeard, do you prefer?
I prefer Bluebeard as I think the storyline is better and there are shocks and plot twists throughout.
I also prefer Bluebeard because I think that most of the fairy tales are quite boring and sometimes unoriginal, but this may just be because I've heard those stories lots of times before and I've only just heard the story of Bluebeard, so I think that it's probably just because of that.
When we recorded the movie, we were all told to look into the past of Bluebeard to gain a better understanding of the story and our characters.
Yeah.
And when it first came out, it was used to teach that disobedience had terrible consequences, and children in France, particularly younger ones, would be absolutely terrified of him, so they'd behave and do what they were told. But I'm sure that nowadays the story isn't used in the same way.
Yeah, so do you think that Bluebeard had a very negative impact on children of the past?
Yes, I think so.
In a way, I suppose that might be the reason why Bluebeard's still popular to this day, because people tell it to their children, then they tell it to their children, and tell it to their children, so on until we reach the children of this generation. And it's probably originally used to scare people, but now it's just yet another gory story.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for talking to us today, Georgia. You've been great.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for having me. I hope I get to come back again soon.
I'm sure you will. See ya.
Bye.
Thank you for watching today, everyone. If you've enjoyed the video, please like it and leave a comment on what we should do next. Also, subscribe for more videos and turn on notifications. Bye.